Charles, stop. Oh, oh my
Hi,
God.
hi, everybody. Welcome.
Aloha Friday, everybody.
Hi.
God.
I
You
sorry.
know, Charlie, just when you think it's safe to go in the water again,
Yeah,
Shazam. You know,
I have learned a very valuable lesson today, and that is members of the DOH, members of the DOH must go back to school because their math is terribly wrong. Two plus two does not equal 85. It just doesn't work. And I know when our beloved governor did an interview, and I know he meant well. Like I said, I can only imagine Sarah and Brucey sitting in the office going like this, Bell. Oh no, what has he done?
you know, I don't know what to say. Anyway, today
Yeah.
is, as we talked about last night, is our town hall Tuesday. We moved our Thursday town hall over to Tuesday because we have Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard coming on Thursday. Again, tomorrow night we have Lieutenant Governor Josh Green. So we wanted to hear from all of you. Um, I'm gonna go ahead and put up the link um, for you guys to join us on Zoom. Now you go join us on Zoom. You won't be on Facebook, but you'll get to chat with us here live and in color. Um, but there's a couple of things that I wanted to cover today. The obviously a couple more deaths today. Um, a bunch more hospitalizations today. You know, I know the number of cases went down from yesterday, but the number of hospitalizations increased significantly. And the number of people that are on ventilators is way too high. And you know, unfortunately, as we've heard from almost every expert, if not every expert that's come on the show, when you get on the ventilator, there's a 50% chance that you won't make it. So it's a scary time. And again, you know, inner island quarantine went into effect today, but people still moving around, people still doing things that they shouldn't be doing. We gotta do something. You know, I don't know if you guys saw on the news tonight. They had the UH research team, a UH professor and three undergrad students have a model that they put together based on all the data, and they predict their model shows that by August 23rd, which is just 2 weeks away, Oahu will have close to 5,000 cases. Um, you know, these are research students and a professor who knows what they're doing. We know today, based on the information that we got from HSTA, from OCCC, that the transparency of this state as it relates to cases are not the best. You know, we find out now just a few hours ago that there were numerous student cases at public schools that from last week Thursday that weren't even disclosed. And then, of course, you know about the whole OCCC fiasco, which again, you saw more people, more positives tonight, and there will be more. You know, there's a lag with the amount of testing on these contact tracing tests. There is going to be a lag. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that, and I think we've been saying this for a while, that it was going to get worse before it got better. And I know a lot of people get upset because we only talk about the numbers. We don't talk about the recoveries. We don't talk about the low mortality rate. But we've covered all of that already. The reality is that what we've been saying for so long, Charlie, is coming true. What we've been saying, and it's not just we, just not you and me. We meaning our viewers. We meaning the doctors that we bring onto the show, the experts, not the politicians, not no one but the doctors, the experts that are working on the front line have told us that it's going to get bad. I remember Dr. Miskovich saying this was going to be a bad month. I remember Josh Green saying it was going to get bad. Expect about 20 deaths by the end of August. This guy's not making the stuff up. So I don't have time to argue and debate with people that want to minimize this. Every day, this last 7 days has been horrific for a lot of families that lost their loved ones because of COVID. So, um, it's something that we got to take very, very seriously. And I mean that. And I think we all, I still hear about travel related cases. Why are people still even traveling unless it's necessary? I don't get it. Maybe now with the quarantine that'll come drop, but you know, and let me just end my little segment with this. Ron Kochi was on the news tonight. I don't know if you got a chance to see that. They did a story again of the contact tracing, and they spoke to Senate President Ron Kochi. They Dr. Anderson sent a letter to Hawaii News Now. It was a pretty long letter, but he called the Senate's unannounced visit to the Department of Health blatant political showmanship. Can you believe that, Charlie? Can you believe that Dr. Anderson would have the audacity to say that those senators that went over there did it as a blatant for blatant political showmanship? Well, Senate President Kochi said there is no way, and we know Senator Kochi. You can tell by his voice that he was very upset, and he said that was no way, in no shape or form, grandstanding. He said the Senate and the Senate COVID committee are working very hard to save lives. That was Senate President Kochi's response. But to think that Anderson would call it a political showmanship is kind of insulting. Because if not for that, Charlie, if not for those legislators to go do that, we would still be in the dark, believing what we were being told, believing that we had 400 or 300, I don't know, the number changes every single time they open their lips, but we would not know. 500, Charlie? 400, 240, or whatever the numbers, 480. We saw what they have. They get about 7 or maybe 8. Or even if you give them the benefit of the doubt, maybe they got a dozen. So anyway, I just thought that was kind of interesting that they would call this blatant political showmanship when these Senate committee members have been trying to get the information for months now, have been told over and over and over again that everything was under control. Unfortunately, the damage has been done. Now the cases are widespread, and we are so far behind in contact tracing. We're going to see the results, and it's going to show up as numbers and deaths, and that's the sad thing.
Well, aloha, folks. This is a much calmer Uncle Charlie as opposed to yesterday. So I'll go into my prophesizing mode right now as I take this position. If you remember, just a few days ago, a statement was made on air by our lieutenant governor, and it was pretty straightforward. He said that, granted, he said he didn't want to see the um, head of the department or the epidemiologist fired, but they need to be removed. I mean, I heard that unless somebody can make me an appointment with an auditory specialist so I can get my ears checked. But that's what I heard. I'm pretty sure all of you out there in TV land may have seen that same news piece. And I guess now, for the statement to be made, it's coming from the same person who made that. Um, that's I don't know. I don't know what to think of it, to tell you the truth. Um, it's almost as if Uncle Charlie came on tonight and totally contradicted what I say last night. I mean, you, you folks would hold me to a higher standard, right? It's like we said in law enforcement. Law enforcement is held to a higher standard. So I think what we saw, and here's the thing, and Mel, that even baffles me more. A piece just ran tonight at 6 o'clock. Okay, a piece just ran by Gina Mangieri, always investigating. It comes to find out per HGA, there are 18 contact traces, and they did the breakdown. And the breakdown is as follows: 15 contact tracers. They didn't say if it was on Oahu, they just said 15, with 3 on the outer islands. So what do you assume when they say that? It's 15 on Oahu and 3 on the outer islands. So
15, Charlie, 1-5.
1-5. So with 3 on the outer islands, they don't say how much on it. It could be, all 3 on the Big Island and none for Kauai and Maui. But it seems more like, 3 is a wonderful number because there are 3 counties other than Oahu: Maui, Kauai, and Hawaii, right? 1, 2, 3. So therefore, I would think there's 1 in each county. So I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I'm now starting to think, has the Department of Health actually gone online and subliminally made all viewers think that what we thought learning math as we grew up is really not what we thought? Because their number seems to be so skewed. I am beginning to think, hey, do I know how to count? Because I did see something and I did hear something about Kauai having 50. Having 50. I did check with several sources for Kauai and asked if they ever saw 50 contact tracers at their department. And they said, unless they got them hidden in one maid's closet with the brooms and the dustpans, we never see anybody like that. So, I'm just baffled. I am just really baffled. So, what makes this thing pretty ugly in totality? And you corrected me. Maybe that's the reason. The union, who is the bargaining agent for the employees, the government employees, HGEA, normally gets a list of new hires that they sign up because they're going to represent that bargaining unit. They're representing right now 15 employees who do contact tracing. Now, wouldn't you think, as a bargaining representative, they would have a list that shows that there's another 400 to 500 that recently got hired? Because then that would put to rest the issue that the contact tracers that's been hired is about 400 to 500. But that information has never gotten out yet. Is it because they don't want to tell us? that HGA is in collusion um, with the administration? I don't think so. Or is it because there is just not enough numbers to substantiate the number that's been given by the DOH? That's the only thing I can think of. Now, I'm not saying one way or the other. I'm just telling it out to you viewers out there. You folks decide. You folks decide. How that breakdown is, because that seems to be what's at the center of this whole mess, and that is, and I don't know if you folks been following Mr. George Ma. He was inside the hospital for 11 days. He is a fitness guru that works with Parkinson's patients. Okay, if you listen to him talk, and he's in a stage of recovery right now, you can see that he's still struggling to breathe regularly, normally. It's just like he had to train himself how to take smaller breaths as he's talking. It was through his testimony today on Channel 2 with Geno that contact tracers, in his case, were not contacted. Family members and friends of George Ma were not contacted 5 to 7 days later. 5 to 7 days later. And Dr. Miskovich said that in order to be effective with contact tracing, it needs to be done within the first 24 hours. It needs to be done. So, Dr. Miskovich also said, for you folks out there that's wondering about today's numbers, because the numbers look promising, it went down. But bear in mind, he did say the mass testing results done at Honolulu Hale yesterday have not been out. But he's already been informed, and he said this again on the news tonight at 6 p.m. He says, I'm going to tell you one thing. I already see positive results being reported from the labs that receive that bunch of tests, and we'll have more numbers soon. So you know that there is a problem. You know there is a problem. So how does that work in relations to contact tracing? Well, someone needs to contact them. Someone needs to make sure they stay remain in place. Someone needs to make sure that if they come in contact with anybody else, that information now gotta follow, gotta keep on following until you can't follow it no more. Now the question is, did it already start? It couldn't have started because I'll tell you why. The news that the senators did already, those workers say they'll get to it when they'll get to it because they have 100 some odd to 200 some odd cases right now. And how you know that they don't have enough contact tracers is innocently the governor of the state of Hawaii, during an interview, said that he has authorized the Department of Health to move quickly on hiring more contact tracers. Now, what does that tell you? If we supposedly have 4 to 500, like the DOH said, you say move quickly to hire another, so we can ramp up to 1,000 contact tracers. That's why this whole puzzle is confusing. But if you follow it slowly, and I know some of you out there, based on the statements, if you follow it slowly, you will see someone is telling you a pile of caca because the numbers don't add up. And how you can validate the numbers don't add up is by free statements given by victims or someone who's been affected by COVID telling you through their own words that family members or friends have not been contacted. That's how you can validate the story. So I hope you can take some of this and do what you need to do with it. But that's my moment of composure, brought to you by Uncle Charlie tonight. Thank you.
Well, the numbers change. I think there's a lot of confusion. I know the Star Advertiser printed in the story that Sarah Park said that they had 62 or 64 contact tracers on staff. Uh, we were talking about it before the show, Charlie, that we have about 300, 3,000 active cases.
Yes.
If you have, let's just say you had 15 contact tracers, that would give each contact tracer 200 cases. So as we watched the Senate committee ask contact tracer number one, she had 100 and whatever, 73, and then, or 100, whatever it was. And then the second guy at 192. So I think it would be safe to say, just do the math. Do the math. 200 cases times 15 people is 3,000 cases, which works out. The problem is that 200 cases or 100 cases or 150 cases for one contact tracer, no sense do them. No sense. You're wasting your time. You're wasting your money because you ain't doing nothing. You cannot get through the list. You cannot do effective contact tracing. So that's how I know they don't have 500. That's how I know they don't have 400. That's how I know they don't have 100. Because if they did, and if you had let's say you had 3,000 cases and you had 100 contact tracers, when you went to that contact tracer and said, how many cases you got? They would tell you 30, which is still too high, but not 200. That's how I know their numbers are crap. That's how I know that they're not telling us the truth. And the problem, our infectious rate, the number of infections that each positive person, this is the average now, is 1.7. That's the highest in the country. That means every positive we see, round them up because it's an average. So if we get 3,000 cases, in reality, each of those 3,000 infected another 6,000, which would make it 9,000. That's why this is bad. That's why when you get a infectious rate of 1.7, it's dangerous. That's why the UH students are now, the UH research class is predicting close to 5,000 cases in 2 weeks. That's why. The problem with the system that we have is all of these contacts aren't being contacted. All of the infected people they don't know, and they're floating around. Our positivity rate as well, highest in the country. Highest in the country. When New York added us to their no-fly list, their quarantine list, that's one list you didn't want to be on. It's almost like the trophy that you don't want. The America's dumbest criminals. You get the award. Yeah. You go to America's funniest videos. You run into a wall and you broke your nose on camera and you win the $10,000. It's a stupid thing. Yeah, you get rewarded for. We have reached that stupid. We are on the New York's list. Hawaii is now on a quarantine list for the state of New York.
I sorry. You know why I'm laughing? Because I
Probably.
can just imagine if somebody never understand what you just said, they went, Mom, Dad, we made the list in New York. Only to find out, oh boy, get us off that list.
We are breaking records throughout the country, and we are being recognized for it.
And we are
For the
breaking
wrong
all,
list.
we
The
are
wrong
breaking
list.
all the wrong records.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
So today, Department of Education now comes out and says, okay, we're gonna go all distance learning for the whole state, but we're gonna let you come to school in the first week. Bring all your kids to school in the first week, and then after that, you guys are gonna stay home for the first 4 weeks. And I know there's a bunch of you out here right now
Yeah.
that have strong feelings either way, and that's what tonight is about. Hey, chime in.
Yep.
I'm gonna put the link up one more time. Nobody's taking us up on this tonight. I'm surprised.
You know why, Mel? Because I think right now they feel, no, Uncle, you and Mel doing a good job as it is. Right?
Yeah, but I'm getting tired of hearing about us, Charlie. I really want to hear from you all. You got some awesome comments.
Yeah.
We got some people on this that pays attention. keep track, got some awesome data. I want to hear from them. I really do. I want to hear and get you on the screen and have some fun, if you can
Yep.
call it that. So I just curious, how many of you? What's your thoughts? I know Tyson has some very strong opinions on that.
Yeah.
Now I don't like. Just let's be civil because the decision has already been made. I still question as I drove through Lawai yesterday. No, Sunday, the body surfing contest in Moipu in Lawai, and tons of people. Uh, in Honolulu now the state shut down all the trails, all the beaches, all but gyms are still open, churches are still open. I just sometimes wonder what's the we got Geno's iPad here.
Hey, Eugene.
Geno,
You connecting to audio? No, you gotta connect to the computer. Gene, if you can hear us, connect to computer audio. If you can hear us.
we can see him.
Can
Oh, there,
Okay, there you
connecting to
go.
audio.
Connecting to
Connecting to
audio.
audio.
Waiting for the check. No. Did not. Try one more time. Try one more time. Sorry, folks, for the little technical difficulty. It needs to capture the signal on the audio portion. Okay, it's connecting to the audio.
Leilani, you can come on without the camera. You can just come on and oh, and I would have a very hard time right now holding back and remaining civil. Okay, you can stay right there.
Okay.
Anyway, we lost Geno.
Yeah.
Tyson, are you there, Tyson? Come on, Tyson.
Wait,
By
let
the
me.
way, our Keiki shields are in. It's in Oahu right now. I just got the text from Dr. T. So we're gonna be getting it over here on Thursday. So we're still trying to figure out the distribution, how we're gonna do it. But we got 600 shields that's gonna go out to Keiki that needs it. And I mean, I guess we have some time now, but we're gonna go ahead and figure out the best way to get those out. But 600 shields will go out. So thank you guys again for your donations that made that possible, and to Dr. T who donated a hundred of the shields on his own. So awesome. All right. Well, Charlie, I guess it's just
Yep.
you and me, bro. I'm shocked that Tyson is not on. I really am, because I was just talking to him today, and he was fired up. But anyway, so yeah, Kiki Shields. Thank you guys for your donations. Absolutely, you guys were amazing, amazing. So what happens next, Charlie? What do you think happens next? We got the issue, the jail. We got more tests came back positive from OCCC.
Okay.
We'll
Try
get
shoot.
more.
Try shoot the link to Brian Ingalls. He's asking for the link one more time. You see that
We
that just
Yeah,
came on the screen? Yeah.
yeah.
Well, as you do that, I'll talk to about what's happening. Uh, folks, it has always been concerning that when you have a large group of individuals in an area, okay, that the possibility of infection could occur, and so that's what is at hand right now with the prison system. If you just follow San Quentin alone, that should tell you how they're gonna have to soon. They're gonna have to think about something what they're gonna do. I think what happens with OCCC as an example, what I would do if I was the warden or the head of the DPS, I would remove all the prisoners right now, put them in temporary housing, someplace like the Aloha Stadium. It's not being used. Erect uh, uh, a tent city right on the field, and have guards around watching them until such time the entire old Triple C can be sanitized. That would be the best option right now. But I don't know if they're thinking that way because my understanding is they're playing like the shell game. They're moving bodies from this module to this module to this module. There doesn't seem to be any effective sanitizing process when they move someone out from a module. So it can be very, very, it can be very, very a dangerous proposition if you ask me. Okay. Yeah. Yes. Yes. Mosquito man, is that you? Hello.
Hello, everybody.
Timo or Governor Ige. Look at his name.
Yeah.
Timo or Governor Ige.
You got to bring up your audio there, brother. You got to bring up your audio.
You know,
I,
you'll never know what happens on this show. You just never know.
So for our visitors who are is watching from the mainland, this is what happened when you sunbathe and you fall asleep on the sand. You're gonna come burnt like this individual here. Okay.
And you get on tennis racket on your face.
yeah. Hello, everybody. I'm sorry. I don't want to show my face tonight.
Okay. How, how you doing, man?
Shit, I'm good. You gotta laugh, right?
Yeah.
I even put on a little shirt for you guys tonight. Damn, look at that.
We are on it. We are on it. Thank you. Thank you very much.
That is so cool. That is so cool.
Yeah.
So what's on your mind, Tyson? What's on your mind?
Nothing, man. Just the good old living in paradise. There's
Well,
there's nothing. I'm not gonna talk about any of this school stuff and what's going on other islands, cause that's just another nothing good to talk about. So we take care of Kauai. Hey, if we get punished for doing good things here, oh well, what can we do?
yeah. Well, I did see futures. Oh, yeah.
You see that, Tyson?
Yep.
That's a really nice football card.
Hey, it's interesting you have a futures card because I I think this is a futures card of Justin Herbert. It is.
Oh yeah, you see him? Yeah, he always one ups me. He always one ups me. Anyway, so really, Tyson, I know you're a very opinionated guy, and
Yeah.
let's. I don't know what you want to talk about, but let's just talk about this whole thing in general. I mean, I know you pay attention a lot. Um, what is your thoughts, man? What is your thoughts on the state of affairs for Hawaii going forward as far as COVID? I mean, there's just it just seems like the transparency I was talking to Charlie earlier, the transparency in DOH, in DOE, coming out of the governor's office, just not up to par. And the people are left guessing, speculating, uh, genuinely afraid and scared. And, even the education component, the DOE component, because not everybody is kept in the loop. Not that, I mean, it's everybody's telling everybody, hey, I heard they're gonna make an announcement. I got a friend in Honolulu that was told today that we're gonna be going distance learning. And I mean, why is it so difficult for a state agency like the DOE or the Department of Health to just let everybody know what's going on in all for all issues, so we all in the loop, we're all on the same page, so there is no room for speculation or rumors? What do you think? You think they're just purely totally incompetent, or don't know what they're doing?
I possibly both, right? I don't know honestly what is the harm of informing the public, right? Because I don't think people have fear. Their fear is the unknown, right? Because we don't know a lot of this stuff because they just ain't tell us anything. So when you gotta try and guess, right? Going back to somebody test positive. Once again, it was easy. They was able to show that a city bus driver worked on this day, did this route, boom. You can get certain information for certain positive cases. You got another positive case, and they just tell you a man tested positive, inter-island travel. All right, thanks. Right on. What the hell does that do for us? Nothing. So it goes with everything, right? You take positive cases, you go to the education, school system, schooling, right? So teachers went back to work, what is that, a week and a half ago? And since then, they've had one thing changed. Then they came out with schedules for blended this and that. And then now possibly Oahu public schools, completely, distance learning for the first 4 weeks. And now probably the rest of the state doing the same thing. But school is supposed to open up August 17th after they pushed it back. You're giving teachers 3 days and the weekend to prep. And that's the other thing what people don't realize. Distance learning, it's not an easy thing. It's not easy for teachers, not easy for parents, not easy for students. But all these things with the teachers they're going to get overwhelmed, right? You got regular curriculum that is already a bitch, right? Because it takes a lot of time. Teachers, they might be 10-month workers, but a lot of them work over the summer. So they already been working with this COVID syndrome. They've been doing a lot of things. They came into their first day of work thinking, okay, what are we going to be starting August 4th? Okay, we got to prep. Oh, found out a few days before, we're pushing it back. Now we can get trained. We can get trained for kids coming on a blended schedule. Oh, wait, we're going to go completely distance learning. So teachers, the overwhelming and the stressful rates they're going to be at, it's going to be insane. So dude, I don't even know what you can say about that. I can tell you I'm glad I'm not a teacher anymore, but I'm still a parent of kids in the public school system, and them not going to school is a bad thing. So we're going to see, I don't know, our viral load, I don't think warrants Kauai not having a blended schedule. But that goes back to, the people at top who aren't very transparent, letting people know what they're thinking in a timely fashion. And I understand you can't release everything, but you got to give something so that parents aren't freaking out. I'm going to have childcare, this and that. So we'll see. Eugene?
Hey, what's up, guys?
Hey, how's it going? Yeah, I decided to bring you all on, and if you guys want to kick out, not a problem. I just wanted to. One of you has wind blowing though. I'm not sure which. Somebody has a lot of wind in the background.
Oh, it's me. I think your call.
Oh, is that you, Brian Ingalls?
Yeah, that's what I look like.
Yeah.
I know all you've ever seen is a picture of my poodle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how goes it, man? How goes it?
It's doing pretty good. Just been outside building a foundation for a bigger chicken coop today, so kind of tired.
Oh man, you got, oh boy, I want to build a chicken coop. My wife is saying I cannot build a chicken coop. So I'm trying to figure out if I can get one pre-built and delivered while she's at work. Don't tell her this though.
Yeah.
Then, it's always better to ask for forgiveness than permission.
Yeah.
But anyway, how goes it, man? I mean, you're like a wealth of information, well-learned, educated, trained, certified, qualified, and you offered to be a contact tracer for the state.
And they turned me down. Well, they said that no need, which I really thought was kind of funny because I explained my credentials to them. And for your listeners, I'm a retired intensive care emergency room nurse. I have a degree in psychology. I was a statistician. I wrote predictive tracking software that predicts people's behaviors in large groups. I'm a master scuba instructor. I'm a pilot. What else do I do? I don't know. I'm a ham radio operator as well. And I used to be a part of the Emergency Response League in Connecticut. My ham radio, I did telephone links to Antarctica for Little America. And I've even talked to the space shuttle on my radio, so that was kind of cool. But in any case, with this thing here, I spend most of my time, with my statistician's hat on, going through the numbers and getting the hell scared out of me.
And when we go off the air, I would ask if you could just hang on and maybe talk with Charlie for about half an hour, 45 minutes, and give him some therapy.
Yeah, huh?
Yeah, he definitely needs it.
Yeah, so do I. One of my friends told me that today that, I needed to try to de-stress, and I do that as much as I can, but I mean, we're just in real stressful times.
Yeah, it's affecting everybody. Everybody gets affected differently. I just honestly wish I could de-stress. I wish I could turn the switch off, and it just doesn't work that way. And I asked Tyson, what do you see going forward? You're aware of all the numbers.
Yes,
You've seen the trends. You're a statistician. I mentioned earlier the research project that was on the news tonight. They're predicting by August 23rd, Honolulu having close to 5,000 cases. Is that, based on the chart that they put on the news, I think they're right.
The positivity rate dropped a little bit today with today's numbers, but I don't really know how the state's doing and the labs in the state are doing and getting their numbers in on time, and also the lag amount. So if I get tested today, I should know tomorrow, but I don't know if that's happening. So there's a lot of things when I do the math that I don't know. But with that caveat aside, my math said that the Oahu intensive care units would be filled by somewhere between the 19th and the 21st, and the entire state would be filled by the end of August. That's intensive care beds, not regular beds. The hospitals on Oahu can double, so they can go up to 200%. Here on the Big Island, our hospitals can add 30%. But there's just a fixed amount of ventilators, and that's it. And my real concern is people who are going to die of gallbladder attacks and heart attacks and traffic accidents and falling off a ladder in the backyard because there's no hospital beds. And that's the real fear that I have, is that the hospital system is going to be overwhelmed. And the sad part about it is, with an aerosol virus, with an airborne virus, it's really easy to mitigate it. You just have to follow the process. And I pulled out from another website a chart today on the R values. We had talked about those back and forth, on your Facebook page before. And we had dipped below the line where we were actually in a reduction of cases when we first shut down. And then on Memorial Day, we crossed the line again and we started to climb. And did you see my chart with the blue line on it that just goes straight up?
Straight up.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, that's worse now. But when you do the math, Excel has to shrink the chart down to fit that line in now. So it still kind of looks the same, even though it's 200 points higher, and it's literally straight up. The concern is this positivity rate. Today, I think it was 7.8. I'm not really sure. Somebody else did the math. Yeah. So that positivity rate really bothers me a lot, because when I do my math on that positivity rate, that's what I'm watching for new cases going into the hospital. I had typed in on the comments here, I shut my phone off so I didn't get an echo, but I had typed into the comments about that positivity rate. And the CDC, I went onto their website today, and with a positivity rate of 7.8, they say that there's 10 times as many cases. So with 2,000, you can't call them active cases, you have to call them diagnosed cases. So with 2,000 diagnosed cases on Oahu, there's probably 20,000 active cases on Oahu, which is 1 in 50. 1 in 50. So you literally cannot go shopping on Oahu without running into somebody who's COVID positive. So what do you do about that? Well, with an airborne virus, it's pretty simple, especially with one that has an R value of only 2. Now, it's very infectious, but it's not like measles. Measles has an R value of 15. So this has an R value of 2, which means that you can protect yourself against it. If you wear a mask and I wear a mask, we reduce the aerosol transmission significantly. If you wear a mask and I wear a mask and we stay at least 6 feet apart, we reduce it even more. If you wear a mask and I wear a mask and we're socially distanced and we wash our hands before we touch and after we touch, we reduce it almost to zero. And then, as I've been writing lately, trying to get people to think of the three C's to avoid. You avoid close contact, you avoid continuous contact, and you avoid confined spaces. And I don't know who Spider-Man is. I don't know your name, but you had mentioned about schools. Schools are close, confined, continuous spaces. They can't be opened because they violate all three of the things that you have to do to avoid an airborne virus. And the other issue is what we do here in the Ingalls household is we wash the bottom of our shoes off before we come in the house. We take them off, we spray them with Lysol, we let them sit for an hour because the virus, when it leaves your breath, falls to the floor. So the filthiest place in Walmart or any other place you go shopping is the floor. So if you don't take your shoes off before you come in the house, you're tracking the virus from Walmart into your house. So you have to do it. So I'm going to give you a little rundown of what we do here. When we come home, we have 2 tables set up outside. Everything from the car goes on table number 1, and it all gets washed off before it goes to table number 2. Then it comes in the house. Anything that we can remove the packaging from, we take the packaging off, like cereal boxes, bread, bagels, anything that we can take the packaging off, and we throw that away. When that's thrown away, we wrap that up and it goes into a basket outside. And we won't touch that again for 72 hours. We go outside, our washer and dryer are outside because we're in Hawaii. And we strip all of our clothes off, put them in the washing machine. Everything that is in our pockets is in plastic bags. Our driver's license, our credit cards, everything's in plastic bags. And they get washed, like if I use my credit card at Walmart, I wash it off with a wipe before I put it back in the bag. Then I wash that bag off when I get home and I leave it for, it gets washed off with Lysol and we leave it for 15 minutes because that's all it takes to kill it. And then those come in and they go into a box and they don't get touched until we have to go out again. And then, so once we're stripped off there, we go into the house and we wash. And we get into the shower, somebody else turns the water on for us, and we wash our hands and our arms first before we touch our face. And then we wash our face off and continue on from there. Now, why do we go crazy like this? My wife and I are both intensive care nurses. We've worked with hepatitis outbreaks, H1N1 outbreaks, avian flu outbreaks, and we never got sick, and neither did our children, because we did the same process we're doing now with this, and we've been doing it since March 3rd. So I'm going to get off of that soapbox now, because the reason I went through all of that is if every single person in Hawaii did what I just described, there would be no reason to close the beaches, to close stores, to do anything except for close, confined, continuous spaces. In other words, I hate to say this, folks, but get drunk at home because the bar's not safe.
Well, I think, thank you very much, first of all, Brian. And it's nice to meet you where I can see you now.
Yeah.
I think what you've just said really hits home that if we can have 100% compliance, which we know there's always going to be that few percentage points that's going to want to just say, you know what, I'm going to do what because you hear it all the time. You hear it that it says that, if it gets me, it gets me. But I think, somebody with your background, having gone through it, knowing that, especially on a big island, now I don't know what part, if you live in like remote areas, like out in Kau or someplace.
No, I'm in HPP.
HPP, okay. Then, like Kauai, you're limited on hospital space.
Yes.
And so, it becomes a real sobering fact that should you get sick and should you need that help, I said this to Mel the other day, if everybody just understands that, we're going to take up a space that could be used for maybe that somebody's have a heart attack. And, then it's going to be that old triage, what are we going to take first? Somebody's going to have to fall at the wayside, and we don't want to get to that point. We don't want to get to that point.
Right.
I'm really, really glad that you brought up all of these facts. And folks out there, if anything, like we always say, we inform, educate. If you can use something, use it. But I think, he's pretty much on the button because Brian and I, we will share, especially the numbers on our Facebook pages. And when you start working with those numbers, I mean, you can skew it all you want, but it leads and it ends up in one place at a very, very dangerous level that you don't want to be in that area. You just don't
Right.
want to be there. Mel,
Geno, Geno.
you got to take off his mic. He's muted.
Yeah. He's there.
Hey, okay. Better.
So what's up, man? Sorry, I had to
Sorry.
mute you out because they had some like hurricane force winds over there in Kikaha.
Yeah, I got those tornado fans. I get two of them blasting at me. It's like 100 degrees. Feel like kickoff. So humid, huh? But anyway, I was talking to Charlie like maybe 3 weeks ago, and I was
Yeah.
discussing with him about Uncle Charlie, the way the Department of Health is. They're getting overwhelmed, and I was thinking to myself, maybe it's just me. So I asked Uncle Charlie, these guys are definitely overwhelmed, and I'm just tired of hearing Dr. Park and Dr. Anderson, the way they talk, because it doesn't make any sense. And it's infuriating because when I was going at Kauai Community College, we were talking about exponential growth. It's just 1, 2, or 3, but you actually multiply. When somebody gets sick, it's like 4 getting sick, then 16, then 100 something. It just grows faster and faster. So it drove me crazy. I was thinking, why is this happening over here? Well, it's sad the way things are with the Department of Health. And then seeing the senators actually go and then talking to those workers, I was shaking my head. It's like we have no clue what's going on.
Well, let me first thank you there, Gino. I remember you asking me that question, and my honest opinion after I saw the investigative reports today, when someone openly tells you something and it's clearly wrong information, and they hold to that information even after an investigation is done, and they don't change their opinion or decide to change their answer, right? You can be rest assured they're going to continue down that path. So at this point, it would behoove any one of us to get frustrated over something like that, because I've just resorted to the fact that, they've lied and hoping that things will change. But the thing is, like you and me, the part of telling something false is we're no longer dealing with just semantics here. We're dealing with lives. And every time a death occurs, it's all tied into the messaging of what's coming out from the Department of Health. Okay. And I think the sooner we understand that that message is bleak, that's why I say, hey, we got to go into a messaging campaign, because right now there's so much confusion as a society. In an emergency like what we have now, it would be better to get cooperation than confusion, because right now you've got nobody cooperating because they don't know what to take. But you got individuals like Brian here who works with these numbers. They put them in real time sense. I think if more information, the health department would be like Brian, because it is confusing. I'm not a mathematician or statistician. He is, but he broke it down in very layman's terms. It's very easy to understand it, and it's a compelling argument right there. I think if the health department had someone like him giving that information out, more people would gravitate to doing what is right. Right now, there's not enough people doing that. So, I mean, we talk about New Zealand. The way they got to where they got is they just said, hey, they're going to sacrifice and hunker down. So they reap the benefits on the back end. But here in Hawaii, a lot of us, and Mel said this before, just impatient. They want now. I want now. They don't believe in sacrificing.
Yeah.
It's just like somebody growing a tree. I know you want the fruit, But you got to keep on watering every day. If you neglect that, you're not going to get the fruit you want.
Yeah, it's just amazing, man. But
I think
hey,
I think the problem is that when you look at all these different people, you get all the different players, whether it's DOH, DOE, sometimes Anderson is there. The other day, Park was at the committee meeting because Anderson was with the governor doing their press conference. But it's like everybody is in CYA mode, cover your ass mode, and they're all going to say what they got to say to get through that interrogation or questioning session, and they're going to just say what they got to say. And I remember a long time ago somebody said, if you're going to be a liar, you better have a damn good memory, because you got to remember every single lie that you've ever said. And whether it's intentional, whether it's stress, whether it's whatever, at the end of the day, we are dealing with a bunch of inaccuracies, and it's causing people to question. Now, today I read, and I'm real curious about this, because they're saying that they've had 200 some odd people get certified through the online training. And now they're going to start their 6-week training with the state for contact tracing. If you're going to wait 6 weeks, forget it. That's my position. If you're going to wait 6 weeks, forget it. You've had months to get these people trained up. We were told for the last 3 months that we get 500 or 400 ready to go. But now they're saying we got to run them through a 6-week training program, which I don't understand that.
Let me just share one thing with you. Remember what the epidemiologist, virologist of New York City said the other day, as I was saying. If a test comes back, and they're saying some tests are coming back 10 days, 14 days, it's too late already, to find what the test results show. It can show they're positive, but they've already gone through that period. It's just too late, right? So they said, when you need rapid testing, the PCR testing, you got to get the results relatively quickly in order to move to stop this virus. You cannot wait that long. So is with contact tracing. You cannot be qualifying people, taking them 6 weeks. And what do you think all these cases will be held in animated suspension and just hold and not do anything. Then come back alive when you got the tracers coming on board. It's not going to work that way. Those cases are going to move no matter what, whether you're ready to take them or what. Because why? It involves people who are infected, and it's going to infect more people. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to stop that snowball effect. And if you're over here waiting, when we had that lull, that's when we should have saved up our nuts for the winter, right? That's when we should have put everybody in place. But no, we waited like, let's roll the dice. We see what happens. Guess what? It overtook us. Now we're trying to play catch up. And even at that, they're bad at that. It's like playing chase master, right? You're trying to chase the person outrun you. He says, I'm going to take a breather. I'm going to get myself in shape again. Then you go after chasing him. Guess what? He's already 1 mile down the road. You ain't going to catch him. And that's what's happening with this virus. It is outrunning us. And what brings it even more to reality is what Brian said with those numbers. If it continues to go up, we're trying to make it go the other way. But right now, it's continually going up because we're on a delay mode, and we're letting it. And I don't know if the Department of Health thinks it's like a rocket. It's going to run out of steam. It's going to come down on its own. Okay, do you have any idea when that's going to be? Because they do send rockets from Earth to the moon, and that's far, far away. So when is that point going to come where it's going to turn and come right back down? It's nowhere in sight right now. And I don't think they got, correct me if I'm wrong, Brian, but I don't think they got that message.
Okay, well, that's a viral saturation rate. It's got to saturate the environment. Okay, and there's so many things that it depends on, but it's what you hear people talk about, herd immunity all the time. Okay, so that's what you're talking about. It's incredibly dangerous to do by letting the virus do the herd immunity. Herd immunity is best done via vaccine. You vaccinate enough of the people, that means that they don't carry the virus anymore. So your chances of running into someone carrying the virus get reduced. That's herd immunity. but it takes about 90%. Right now, they're talking about 200 tested positive. CDC says to estimate 20,000 on Oahu testing that would test positive if we could test them. But there's, 1.2 million people there? 20,000 is too small of a fraction. Like, Alexa, what's 20,000 of 1.2 million?
The number that comes after 1,200,000.
Alexa, stop. Never mind. So in any case, that's my math over there. That's why I ever do that for, do my calculations for me. But in any case, 20,000 is a small fraction of 1.2 million. So we're nowhere near reaching that level. But we are near reaching the level where the hospitals are full at only 20,000. And that's the issue. Now, you talked about we can make this thing come down. Yeah, we can, but there's going to be a lag. One of the things about this virus is it has a cycle of about 14 days. You get exposed. If you don't get sick within 14 days and they test you again, you start showing antibodies. So it takes 2 full cycles to clear the virus from an environment. You guys did it on Kauai, right? You went 28 days without a virus. And now all the cases you are seeing have one thing in common. They're travel related. You're flying the virus into Kauai. That's how it's getting there. Now that's most likely what's happening here on the Big Island too. We have, I think, 8 or 9 active now. We picked up some more today. But we were clear for a while and then we flew the virus back in. One of you two had asked a couple of days ago on your show, why is there no 14-day quarantine flying to Oahu? That's because the likelihood of the person coming into Oahu being COVID positive is relatively low. But the likelihood of the person coming out of Oahu is incredibly high. Same thing like if our next door neighbors, their granddaughter went to the mainland. I think her quarantine ended today. She was on Oahu, which means she has to fly back to the Big Island and go through another 14-day quarantine because she's coming out of there. She's just a young child. The way to stop this is to do what I did before, which is mask, gloves, or rather masks, hand washing, distance. That's all you need to do, but everybody has to do it. The next 2 weeks, there would still be cases carried over from the residual that are left, but your chances of being one of those cases get reduced dramatically. Once that 2-week period is done, we should see 0 new cases if everybody did it for 14 days, and then 0 new cases if everybody did it on the other 14 days, barring visitors coming in from the mainland or wherever else, bringing it in like they did in Kauai. They're flying it in. But we were in this spot. I had a chart that I did today that shows when we went into lockdown, we dipped below the line and we were green. That R value was below 1. And then the week after Memorial Day, the line turned red again, and it went up and up and up. And of course, you saw the chart that I had before where it just skyrocketed. And that's where we're at right now. Now, that number was 1.4 the last time I wrote to you.
Mm-hmm.
And then it went up to 1.6 and it went down to 1.4. And somebody asked me about that. Well, that R number is not really, you can't pin it down. It's not like 2 + 2 is 4. It's a range. And when you say what the R value is, you pick the middle of the range. When we had those 2 days of 200 cases per day, that R number went up a little bit. It approached 1.6. And then it slid back down in the last 2 days. Today, it was 1.38. That's in the middle of the range. And still, if you do the math, you see 1.6s and you see 1.2s and 1.3s. But what we don't see is numbers below 1. And we're the only state in the entire nation that doesn't dip below 1 somewhere in that range. The only state. We screwed this up ourselves. We want to blame the governor. We want to blame DOH. We want to blame no. We blame people who live here not wearing a mask, not washing their hands, not socially distancing. That everybody knows what to do. It's not like, oh, I didn't know you should wear a mask. Everybody knows what to do. They're not doing it. Now, here on the Big Island, we had people up there protecting the mountain. I want that same attitude protecting Kama'aina. And my Hawaiian sucks. I took like a year of it and it didn't stick. But I had written out how do you say the protectors of the mountain? I took the protectors of, and then I just put in comma I after it, right? Because that's what we need. We need that push to protect the people, because we could eradicate this in 3 14-day cycles. Eradicate it on the islands. Gone. Wouldn't you like to be able to go wherever you want, except for a close, confined space? But we can't do that because other people won't wear a mask. Not me, not you, others. And I can't change their behavior, and it frustrates the hell out of me when I write to them. And then they give me the what ifs. So I give them 2 chances. I give them facts, because I told you before, I do not have a belief system. I have a verification system. I don't believe anything until I can verify it, you know? And so that's what I do with these things. So I give them the math, and if they don't like the math, then I'm sorry, I'm done with them. And the problem is, like a drunk driver, they're not putting themselves at risk when they don't wear a mask. They're putting everybody else at risk. It's like, that's the way I explained it to this last guy. I told him, I said, you can drink at home, I don't care. But if you drink and get on the road and drive, then it affects me. You can go run around at home with no mask, I don't care. But if you're out in public with no mask, then it affects me. And you can kill me with the same potential frequency as drunk driving. Think about that. We wouldn't tolerate drunk driving, and it has the same frequency of accident where you're going to maim or kill that COVID does.
Wow.
Why do we put up with it?
Well, you know, we did it before. We did it before. We dropped our numbers. You know, there was a lockdown. There was a stay at home. There was all these restrictions. We did well, and we know what we got to do. And you know, I get what you're saying about not blaming the state, and I agree 100% that if we were all disciplined and we all cared about each other and weren't so selfish, then we could. But that's not the case. We got to deal with human beings. And the bottom line is, when the state is, this is what I don't get. So they'll close the schools, but they're going to leave the gyms open. They close the schools and they leave the restaurants open. Well, I don't get it. What's the difference? You know, what is the difference between closed, confined? Yeah, we close the bars, but yet you can be in a restaurant serving alcohol. The alcohol in the bar does the same as the alcohol in a restaurant. You know, it makes people be more loose, more relaxed, more vulnerable to taking out the mask and talking story and, you know, hugging that fellow patron before you leave. That's why I think if we want to deal with this and we want to eradicate it or stop it or flatten the curve again, we got to do what we did the first time.
Well, I'm gonna speak so I can get into the middle of the camera. Can you see that graph now?
Yeah.
As I speak. Okay. See the green portion of it?
Yeah.
It dipped below the line when we locked Hawaii down, and it dipped above the line a couple of days after Memorial Day. What happened on Memorial Day? The beaches were packed. People were shoulder to shoulder with no masks on. And that red line is the result of that. And then the 4th of July came, and the line went up. You cannot hide from the numbers because they don't lie. You know, they're just math. Numbers are like the virus. They don't care. They're not alive. They just are. And if you ignore them, you will ignore them at your peril. The same thing with the virus. It's not alive, and I think I've talked to you guys about that before. It's just material waiting to multiply itself, and that's it. So you can't kill a virus, by the way. All you can do is deactivate it. But I use kill the virus because Lord knows I don't want to do virology lessons to people online because it takes too damn long. And I think one of you two, I explained the online course I'm taking. I've got 50 hours in it now. You know, for virology. And if you can get on to Today in Virology on the internet or on Facebook, do it. Isn't that beautiful?
Yeah, I get
a lot of the math.
I have a limited amount of brain cells, and I would like to reserve that for things other than virology and hey, Tyson. Oh, jeez, man, that thing froze with you with your eyes closed, man. I thought you passed out or had a heart attack.
I ain't sleeping. Don't worry,
Okay.
I'm listening.
I'll be
Yeah,
right
no,
back.
you were fine until it just froze. It froze, and swear to God, man, you were, you know how it freezes, just
Yeah,
caught you at the right angle.
that's because I got people texting me saying it looks like I'm sleeping.
No, no, man, you've been awake. I've been watching you, man. I've been watching you.
Hey, see, everybody thinks Tyson just loves to talk. I listen. I like to listen.
Tyson, you are an incredibly, I don't know how you
Gifted.
say this, but you're
You're
like a,
gifted.
yes, he's like a sponge.
Yes.
He's like a sponge. This guy is so intelligent. It's not even funny.
You know, right now,
The
this
retention. I swear to God, man.
Mel, right now, this child invented a special sponge and just got patent. It's a sponge that you use, and his thought process is really good because you know how it picks up water, and you go and wring it out. His one doesn't pick up anything. It just pushes it from point A to point B until you push it right off the mat. And this little boy invented it. I mean, it's amazing, amazing. And Tyson, I think you fall right in that category, Tyson.
Well, I've
What's
never
your
been
thought?
compared to a sponge before, so that's good.
That was purely a compliment, man.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, don't worry. No, like I said, I just listen, right? You got to hear everybody's point of views, see what they're coming with, right? And like Brian said, you got somebody like him who volunteered his services, and the state says no, we don't need you, but then they're gonna have people wait 6 weeks for stuff. It makes no sense, but it is. Hey, I wanted to get back at one thing that he did say though about the schools. I completely agree with him that close confined spacing is a bad thing. My own personal thought about Kauai shouldn't be affected is we have no viral load like Oahu. So where he was talking about how it's 1 in every 50 basically now in Oahu, what have we had? 50 cases total? So for me, I understand the value of education. I understand the value of a teacher. I also understand, more importantly, the value of a student being with the teacher to get that one-on-one type thing. Now, if we had the numbers like Oahu, hell to the no, nobody should be stepping around anybody in public. But how I feel here on Kauai is you're more dangerous taking your child to Walmart or Times than you would be sending them to school on a blended schedule where there's possibly 10 or 12 kids spaced out where they can still get the education. That's the only place I stand on that. If our viral load was higher and not as low as it is now, there's no way in hell I would want to send my own kids there or even have my wife have students in her classroom or my brother or anybody else that I know that teaches, right? So that's where I was with that. I understand the close proximity to everything else. Of course, it goes back to Brian, what you said. I've been saying this for months, right? Once we stop all the trans-Pacific flights coming in, you cannot blame tourists, visitors, travelers, or anybody else. It's all us locals spreading this around amongst everyone, having parties, doing whatever you want. You know, it's funny when you hear people say, oh, you know what? I cannot travel. I can't go to another island because I might catch the virus or it's not safe. But then they go to a house party with like 45 people. It just kind of makes no sense with the thought process that if I leave the island, it's dangerous. But if I stay on the island and do all the things that I shouldn't be doing, it's safe. So it's right now, unfortunately, it is what it is around the state. I still think here on Kauai, we've done a pretty damn good job, majority of everybody, to keep it down. So I think we can do certain things other islands can't.
Well,
Get a termite. He got a termite in his house.
Yeah.
I wanna tag on to something because you know, and I'd love to hear Brian respond, but you mentioned something that makes that hit him on the head when you said you're just as dangerous, or you're more dangerous, there's more risk going to Walmart than sending your kid to school. This is what I've seen. And Charlie and I, we do this every night. We do this every single night. We've had thousands and thousands and thousands of people watch this show, and we see the people, and we know the people saying they will not send their kids back to school. Now, both of you guys get some awesome arguments, but me personally, I wouldn't send my kid to school. But I hear people that say, I would never send my kid to school. But you said it, Tyson. They got no problem taking him to a beach party or to Walmart or to Costco and allowing the kids to walk around and mingle with other people. It's incredible. The virus don't give a damn if it's a school, it's a supermarket, it's a beach. It doesn't matter. But when you talk about viral load, Brian, maybe you can chime in. Hey, put a bowl of water. Get a
Yeah.
bowl of water. Just get a bowl of water and put them under the light. The termite gonna go right into the bowl of water.
We turned the light on the swimming pool and let them drown out there. But
That works too. My swimming pool is the bowl,
yeah,
so I can only afford a bowl of water. My swimming pool not built yet.
Well, before he gives us a response on the question that you had, Mel, I'd like to say the only thing that I'm very, very cautious about. Kauai had one case, and it was during a summer program. What I find kind of ironic in a sense is that in law enforcement, and we talked about this before on the law enforcement side, when we need help or we have something that's brewing that we know that there's a suspect running around, you put out an APB. You put it out right away. So everybody is on alert. So everybody knows that if you see the guy, boop, habeas corpus, right then and there, correct? What is hard to imagine, and they've done it, is during that infection period, during that summer program, they knew a child was infected and said nothing about it until later down the road. That is my fear about the schools. If something should happen, and will they put out enough warning to basically sound the alarm? I mean, I don't know. And sometimes you have to judge whether it's an individual or an entity by how they respond prior even to getting to the big event. And so right now it leads me to believe mom's the word, and that's the only thing I'm afraid of. Now it could be different, I give them that, but I don't know how they would respond, and that's my only fear. That's my only fear.
Yeah, Uncle Charlie.
Yes.
So I said what I thought about them going back to school and all of this. That is my biggest concern, is that right now the DOE and schools, and I don't like the fact they're leaving some of these things up to the individual schools and principals to make up. But say there is a case of a positive case that comes up. They don't really know exactly how they're going to quarantine. Is it going to be just a child, that class, the teacher? You do all of these type of things. Now, if a teacher needs to quarantine, how you can get them in? These kids got to stay home in quarantine. That's what concerns me, because if there's that unfortunate event that a child, a teacher, or any staff member tests positive, what type of quarantine or isolation policies are they going to have? And now how is that going to hinder, one, the student still progressing and learning, and two, not just the teacher being able to teach, but finding a capable replacement to put them in, because you got to keep in mind, substitute teachers are at a low. And now you got all these type of things. You can't just bring in a sub like a normal classroom setting or classroom day and have them take over a class, especially if it's distant learning. So that's the thing that concerns me, right? Our viral load here is pretty low, yes. But if someone was to catch one, what's going to be the protocols? And when we got one district known as the state of Hawaii that can be different on every island, that's what's scary, because what's good for one ain't good for all, and you're going to have a blanketed system. And if something happened at Wilcox School, sometimes it's not as good for Kekaha, sure as hell not going to be as good for Nuuanu or something like that. So that's what kind of concerns me about what you're talking about with somebody becoming positive on campus.
One thing too, Tyson, what about special needs kids and the aides? A lot of these guys got to go to the school, and the special needs kids cannot help themselves. They're not going to be able to put the mask on. It's hard for tell them, no touch your face, or no touch this, no touch that. And a lot of times, the kids are wondering what to do. So it's even more challenging. I don't know how SPED is going to be taught next year.
Oh, I used to be a SPED teacher.
Yeah, me too.
I know.
And And you know how it would go, right? And I didn't have to deal with that type of disabilities, right? But I was always
Yeah.
around it. And those things, Virgil, it it kind of gets escalated from the normal student, don't touch your face, when these ones don't have that capabilities to, kind of stop some of these reactions. So it's that's where you really gotta hope that the state and the schools give those teachers, those special coordinators in there, all the protective gear to make sure they protect themselves. And then hence, you'll be protecting the students as well.
And the other thing is, I think there was directed for the department heads for looking what protective equipment to get. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. You tell these guys now they gotta start fighting for PPE and stuff. It's crazy, brother.
I agree.
Brian,
Stressful times, man.
Yeah.
Stressful times. I feel for our teachers. I mean, obviously our kids. Kids are very resilient. They're. I mean, kids will be kids, but the teachers and the parents. I feel the stress that this this roller coaster that they're on is just it just adds to the stress for our parents, especially the single parents, single moms, single dads that's got to deal with now childcare. It's just a mess. And you know what is really when they were set to open up earlier this month, they weren't ready.
Yeah.
Definitely weren't ready. I mean, and I still don't think they're ready. That first kid that coughs in class or sneezes or complains of a headache or body ache, what do they shut the school down? Call the parent will answer the phone. What the heck they gonna do? Now you gotta isolate not just the kid has to have a supervision. You put him in a health room. Now what? That kid tests positive. At some point you gotta shut down. It's just a mess. And that's why I still under the feeling that we gotta lock down, shut down everything, 2 cycles, and get rid of this virus again. And then people gotta be responsible. That's kind of it, man.
you know, sometime back we had a situation when I was at the liquor department on Oahu, and this goes to it in a smaller sense, but it goes to how I look at controlling this virus, and that is there was a club that we had to shut down, and there were individuals in the club that we were looking for. So what we did is basically we shut the club down, and everybody had to go through one door. That's the easiest way to find out who we're looking for. That is like with this virus, but with this virus, we're shutting down the state, but there is so many avenues of escape. That's where the importance of the contact tracing comes, to give the people that's going to combat this thing the ability to go and find it, to say, hey, you're on the list, you were mentioned that you came in contact with a positive infected individual. You need to stay put. You cannot be going holo holo. You cannot be going to wherever you like go to. That's part of the problem when you don't have that ability right now. You don't know from day to day who's next to you, who's infected or not. We need that ability to say, okay, we put out the dragnet, we brought everybody in. Now we know. Now we know everybody. We marched down the corridor, and it's like prison. And Brian, you know this because we talked about this before. It's like when you're moving prisoners from one module to the next. You make them walk down the corridor. You don't give them the ability to walk wherever they want to walk, because guess what? They're not going to comply. And that's the problem with this virus. When you have people not complying, they're going to do whatever they want to do. It just makes matter. Like we went from having 5 today, now we got a couple hundred because we allowed them to go outside of the corridor. And I think that's the problem. And I wish, because Brian, and this goes directly to what you said, you brought up the fact of your background as a statistician as well. You brought up those numbers. I'm just wondering if each island has someone like that that watches the numbers, how it's going. I think that's pretty important stuff, if you ask me.
There's a bunch of people who do the same thing.
Yeah.
And I grab numbers from them and I publish my numbers up on Facebook. I have no idea if they take mine or not because everything I put up is public, But like 808 or whatever they are, that guy, whoever he is, and he doesn't say who he is, but he's really good at it. And I've grabbed a lot of his charts because then I can backtrace through those charts to get the things that I'm looking at, which is the positivity rate. Before I forget, have you had Dr. Tim Brown on? He's an epidemiologist from Hawaii East West.
No,
No.
we have not.
Okay, well, write the name down and try to get a hold of him because he would fit right in. He's like really in the know.
What's his name? Tim Brown?
Tim Brown. Yeah, let me pull that up.
And which
It's called eastwestcenter.org. It's Hawaii. And Dr. Tim Brown, an internationally renowned epidemic tracking expert at the East West Center, has a stark message for Hawaii residents. And he says, if you're thinking of going out to eat, don't. If you're thinking of you're safe at a gym, you aren't. If you're getting together with those from other households, including extended family, without full masking and distancing, remember you're taking the risks on of everyone they've had contact for the last 2 weeks. And it reminds me of when I was an HIV/AIDS tracker. When we would talk to the patients, and when they have sex with somebody, they're having sex with everyone else that person's had sex with, because the various STDs flow through. Well, this virus is unfortunately the same way. When you have contact with somebody, you have contact with everyone they've had contact with for the last 2 weeks, because you don't know if they're positive or not. So, like in our household, we treat everybody as if they're positive. But Dr. Tim Brown, I like what he writes. I like his charts. They're easy to read. He does nice trend lines. They're scary like mine are. They go straight up.
If you want to read that article, it's on my page. I posted that today. So if you want to read that article, it scared the crap out of me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I posted it on my page this afternoon. So just go to my page and scroll down. You'll see that chart with the
one I just showed you.
Yeah, with the yellow, the blue and the yellow. It's like Pungo.
Yeah. So his normalization on that graph is a rocket going to the moon. Yep. It's straight up. And that's what we're seeing, because on the graphs we only go over one day. So we go over one and up 118. We go over one and up 209. We go over one and up 115. That's why the line looks like it's going straight up. I remember way back when Lieutenant Governor Green was showing us the charts and how we were flattening the curve and everything was fine. You look at his face now when he does those daily videos. He's as afraid as, he's as fearful as I am, because I've been saying from day one, the issue is not the infections, it's the hospitals. We overwhelm the hospitals, we're screwed.
I think we and Dr. Green for a moment was talking about how safe we were, about how much reserve we had, and that we could accommodate any surge, even with the tourist opening. And Josh is my good friend. I'm not saying this to beat him up. I'm just saying that he was on that wave that was saying, we got it covered.
Right, but that was during that green line, that green line that I showed
you. Then now you sense the genuine fear that he has, because we are, and listen, we all have friends that work in hospitals. They all tell you straight up, man, they'll never go public, but they tell you, I'm concerned because we don't have space anymore. We're running out of space. And that line is still climbing.
Yeah.
Our infection rate is still climbing. Look at the number of deaths just in the last 7 days. This stuff is not going to go away. Yeah. And we need to be serious about this stuff. And so Josh is going to be on tomorrow night. It's going to be a great show tomorrow night with Josh, with Lieutenant Governor, because I know he's not in a good mood right now.
I'll share with you one thing. You talk about hospitals, and I hope that the people that are watching can understand this. When I had my open heart surgery in 2012, the night I had the surgery, after being medevac from here, there was a horrific accident on Kunia Road on Oahu. And there was multiple fatalities. And a lot of people that didn't die, but was very, very critically ill. They were taking them to area hospitals, but a bulk of them came into Queens Medical Center. They had already extubated me, taking the tube out because I had already been out of surgery. and I was coming out of it, and I could remember hearing the nurse attending to me that, oh, we have some of those patients in the hallways because they didn't have space. That kind of tells you something like with COVID here. If you take up a bed, they either tend to you in the hallways, or you've got a you got a rough ride ahead of you. I mean, that's what happened. And I remembered looking to the side of my bed, and I asked the nurse. I said, "Who's that person?" They came in. They're one of the critical patients, but there was no room in the ICU, so they put them right in the hallway. But they had a team standing by, and that feeling, talking about what you said earlier and what you said, Mel, about the bed space. That's the reality for me, because I was one of those patients that I had a bed space, and I was lucky because I just had my chest cracked open. So now you got COVID, and you think that somebody's going to come in and they got to get their chest cracked open. Will they have the same amount of care? It's all about, it's almost like the NFL draft. They're going to take the best of the best, and the rest is probably going to fall at the wayside. And it's sad because there are some places throughout the United States that have to make the decision when there's not enough bed space available.
Well, that's triage. That's what that's
Yeah.
called in a hospital, is triage. And did you read or look up when I told you about Hidalgo County in Texas?
Yeah.
Did you look that up?
Yes.
That's terrifying, right?
Yes, exactly.
And they're transporting people out from Hidalgo County over 700 miles to find hospital beds for them. There's no place to go here. We don't have a next door neighbor state. We don't. What did they? I think they had the VA hospital or something sent in a mobile unit into Hidalgo. It was the last I remember. It might have been someplace else. I read so much, but in any case, what are we going to do here? The Mercy is sitting in San Francisco. It would take it 2 weeks to get here. So we can't even get a hospital ship. The best we could do is use an aircraft carrier in Oahu, But here on every other island, there's no deep water ports. There's no big military ships that can come in here and help us. The Mercy is 940 or 960 feet long. It would never fit in Hilo Port. The only place it can go is Oahu. And how quick do you think they would fill that ship up when they filled up I think it's 2,000 possible beds that they have in Oahu, or 2,500. And they said that they could double them, but with tent hospitals and things like that. I don't think we think we can double them. I think we're going to see that needing to be done before the end of this month. I'm terrified.
It was talking about Queens.
Grow our own food here now.
It was talking about Queens filling out. They not any more beds already.
In the ICU.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They
had hospital beds.
We're that's the thing, and I don't know. I'll ask the lieutenant governor tomorrow night if we are preparing, or if we have made requests to the federal government for some assistance, whether it's military hospital, MASH style, whatever. I mean, we got to start thinking about what we're going to do with our patients, and it's because it's going to come around. It's going to happen, and if it doesn't, so be it. They sailed the Mercy to the East Coast. They didn't need it. It came back. But we got to start thinking about, because you don't have that luxury of putting someone in a chopper and flying it to our nearest hospital, or is California.
Yeah.
And it's just not going to work. So anyway, we are way beyond our time. It's already almost 8:30. Yeah. But what do you guys want to talk about? Closing comments, Tyson.
Nothing, man. One of these days, we're going to have a show of yours just strictly on sports. So we're not going to talk about any disease or anything else. We're going to talk about sports and sports cards and everything else, and have some fun. But besides that, just the same old stuff. We all got to be safe, man.
Tyson, look. You see all of these are, a couple of weeks ago, Tyson got me involved in a thing called box breaks. And I never heard of it before, but we go on live and they open up football card boxes. And if you pick a team, of course you pay for your team. Every card they pick with your team card, like the Steelers, you get a card. And now I'm getting overwhelmed with cards. So maybe we'll do that one day. Maybe we'll just go over and sell my cards online, because starting to pile up. But anyway, Geno.
So of course we're gonna talk football, right, Mel? So no football looks like college football is put off for, well, most of the groups have been the talking about doing it in the spring, but no UH football. Really sad about that.
So am I, bro. I don't know what I'm gonna do to fill that void. I cannot watch golf. I tried watching golf this weekend. I sorry.
Mel,
So I
see,
don't know what
forget watching golf, Mel. Just come golf with me. Big difference.
maybe we can do that. And you can buy all my baseball cards or football cards. Brian, words of wisdom for the people of Hawaii.
I think I've said, everything that I can really say on it. I mean, it's entirely up to us as a community as to recovering or being crushed. And we have at best, what is today, the 11th?
Yes.
So we have between 7 and 14 days to pull this off or we're screwed. People, the math says the 19th to the 21st, the ICU beds on Oahu will be filled. And what did we see? We went from 103 to 166 today, in the hospital. Those numbers are already happening. I'll have to go back and take a look at the chart and see how close that comes. Because I think I had talked to you guys before that I had expected us to be at 325 cases a day by now. So we're doing better. The math just 2 weeks ago was showing that we were going to be in the 300s by today. And so seeing that we've been in the hundreds the last 2 days, I think maybe one of two things has happened. In the communities that are not doing what they're supposed to be doing, they're saturating. So all the cases they're going to get. Or they're starting to realize, like we saw during the AIDS crisis, when people had their own family members get sick and their own family members die, they started to do something about it. Maybe we're seeing that now. I can just hope, that's all.
I hope it's not just delayed in test results. Because I just look at the number, the infection rate. I look at the positive rate. Are we testing? Anyway, I hope it's just the numbers are shrinking because we're having less cases. I just hope that's the case.
Apparently I have a fan. You're welcome, Andrew.
Huh?
Somebody named Andrew said thank you. So I'm saying you're welcome, Andrew. I don't know who it is. I've got the phone open.
Yes, Mel. Well, first I'd like to thank our guests tonight, Tyson Moises, Geno Fernandez, and Brian Ingalls. Thank you so much for joining us on tonight's town hall. Folks, one thing I hope all of you remember that, we had some very, very impactful information tonight. And I think when you get good information and it hits home, that's what would wake you up or give you a little kick in the okole to get into gear. Because nobody wants, growing up as a kid, we always went down to the beach and made a little bonfire, right? But nobody wants to get into it when the fire gets out of control and it starts burning the brush alongside the highway and you can't put it out. It gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And that's kind of, if you look at the analogy, that's where we're at right now. So I am personally, I just want to extend my deepest gratitude to you, Brian, because you shared some numbers tonight. And if you're a numbers guy, and even if you're not a numbers guy, sometimes a picture says 1,000 words. When you got a graph that's showing you something that's going to the moon and going straight up, it's almost like a guillotine, right? Nobody wants to be on a guillotine. A guillotine goes straight up and down, up and down. You can pull that rope, pull that blade all the way to the top, then one day it's going to come slamming down. And you just hope your neck is not in the way. I just want to make sure that everyone understands that if we got to start moving, we got to move relatively quick. We do it for tsunamis. We do it for hurricanes. We do it for all other natural disasters, that if we got to get our okole out of a low-lying area, we move and we start doing whatever it takes to save our lives. This virus is no different. We're talking about saving our lives and maybe saving lives of others. So all I'm going to say tonight is, again, Kauai, thank you. I'm pretty sure the rest of the islands, thank you so much. But, again, we're not selfish people. We're loving people. We're human beings. And all I can say is, please, you got to malama each other, be pono about everything, take care of one another, but most of all, just stay connected, because when we share information, a lot of things can be done all for the right reasons. And we got to move in that direction. Over to you, Mel.
Thank you, Charlie. Thank you, everyone. Tyson, Geno, Brian, appreciate you guys coming on. I don't know how the hell we would have filled the hour without you guys. We was running out of stuff to say already. And then we'd have to listen to Charlie's jokes. But Brian, don't forget, hang around with Charlie. Give him some therapy when we're done.
Yeah.
Looks, Leah says, thanks, guys. Now me and my coworkers, 4 of us, are having a powwow about tonight's subject. Good. We stimulate the discussion. But on a serious note, like I think my biggest takeaway from Brian tonight was the numbers don't lie. You can sugarcoat whatever you want, but the numbers do not lie. And I think like Charlie and I, we've been talking about, our biggest fear was the hospital beds. It really wasn't about anything else. We knew from very early on that the resources in the hospitals were going to be a problem, because we don't have an overload. We don't have a reserve. When we fill, and we definitely do not want to be like those states that were bringing in refrigerated containers to store the bodies in. And I hate to talk like that, but that's what happens. So we got to be very careful. So we got to take this thing seriously. People, it's not that hard to wear the mask. Stay home if you don't got to go out. I don't know what else to do. Just don't go out if you don't need to. Let's do this for 14 days or 28 days, and let's get rid of this thing, and then we can get back to normal at some point. But just gotta listen. We gotta listen and pay attention. So again, thank you all, everybody. Tomorrow night we have Lieutenant Governor Josh Green at 7:00. I can only imagine what that discussion is going to be. And then of course Thursday, Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard. So until tomorrow night, you all stay safe. Take care. We love you guys. God bless. See you tomorrow.
All right.
Aloha.